Good morning from Cayman. A somewhat unusually gloomy day here. We've had a lot of rain. There's a thunderstorm has been in and out of here the last few days, tropical depression and stuff. So yeah, the weather's been kind of weird. I was hoping to get out this morning, walk the little man, but there's just been a lot of rain and thunder, and now the mosquitoes are out. The mosquitoes come after the rains here. So counting our blessings though. Hurricane Laura didn't come anywhere near us, thankfully, and I'm thinking of the people in Texas, hoping they're faring okay. We're fortunate here in that we're sheltered under Cuba, so for the most part we get these sort of tropical depressions but don't get full-on hits, which is a blessing, but we're always aware, and it is hurricane season. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Wanted to touch on what I was talking about on my last journey post, I guess, in covering the wonderful journeys I did. And just in picking it up a little bit, it was 6 to 7 years I was in that position following that, and really felt like I hit my sweet spot. I just love the position, love everything it brought, and was passionate, a huge passion for it, and just enjoyed it. And the lifestyle was everything I'd hoped it would be. I was on shorter contracts at that point. Instead of 6 months, I was doing 4-month contracts. So I do 4 months on, 2 months off. So pretty much 4 months off a year paid, which was exceptional. It was terrific. A lot of hard work during the 4 months. But that's how life was. Ironically, it was a 6-figure salary then, with bonuses, and being on a cruise ship, we were offshore, so there were no taxes, things like that. So it's ironic being involved in SFM now, that way back then, and that was kind of early 2000. That was my life, and I was loving it. The rewards were great, but it was so much more than that. That wasn't the main thing for me. It was a byproduct of the lifestyle. So, but I was able to do such wonderful things with that. So the journey continued. The career-wise, I wasn't really looking to move anywhere from there. There were a couple more, 2 or 3 more promotions that I could have gone after, with the end result being the general manager on board the ship, hotel manager as we called it. I didn't have aspirations for that. I was just loving what I was doing, and I wanted to stay in that for the foreseeable future. So things moved on, moving to different ships, and I guess the next pivotal point for me was, at this point I was in my early 30s, and something I started to notice in myself was that I started freaking out a bit because my circle of friends back in Ireland were either all had settled down and married, or they were all settling down, beginning to settle down, get married, have families. And we were all within similar age group. I was in a 4-year relationship around that time that we'd met on the ship, and had been able to move to different ships together. So life was great, but I did start freaking out a little bit. Should I, just get this travel thing done with, and settle down, go back to Ireland, settle down, or just to try and figure it out. And I grappled with that for a year, maybe a couple of years, and really came to the realization that, first of all, I didn't think I could have both. The lifestyle for me was not conducive to a marriage or a long-term relationship, because you were away for such extended periods. And I'd seen the impact of what that could do on the ship with, people having trouble with their marriages, and just the stresses that came with that, and I didn't want to do that. Selfishly, didn't want to put myself in that position, I guess. So came to the mindset that it was either one or the other, but not both, to even have a possibility of settling down. But working through it, I did get to the point where this is how my life's going to be for now. It was clear that things were going to be a little bit different. By making that decision I made at 26, that this was the result of it, and I had no regrets, and that at some point in the future, hopefully that might be an option to settle down. But I didn't want to stop traveling. I didn't want to step out of that lifestyle. So that was it for me. So stay committed to it. Probably the next, noticeable thing in regards to the travel was I was on a ship that was in Alaska, and we used to be in Alaska from May to September. After that, it became winter there, and the weather was too severe. But we were doing 7-day cruises out of Vancouver to Ketchikan and Haines and Juneau, and just Hubbard Glacier, where all these beautiful glaciers are crashing into the water. Just amazing scenery and experiences. I never really saw myself as having this love, I guess, of outdoor nature. That I realized in Alaska, that it was just all around you. Even the air was different. It was clear, it was crisp, it was quite amazing. And I was very, very lucky and grateful to being able to bring both mum and dad out to Vancouver and experience that incredible little piece of paradise. When we left Alaska, we did what was called a repositioning cruise, and we were actually headed for Australia, of all places, to leave Alaska and go to Australia. And we were going to spend a few months cruising Australia, New Zealand, Tahiti, Fiji, Bora Bora. Just a ridiculous itinerary. But in order to get there, we transitioned through Hawaii. Now, to get from Vancouver to the first port of call, Honolulu in Hawaii, that was a 5-day sailing. And this was the reason that Hawaii cruises were only passing through cruises. We'd never spend months down there because they were so isolated. The closest to the Hawaiian Islands was California, and that was a 5-day sailing to get to Hawaii. So it was never practical to have a year-round Hawaii itinerary. It was always what we call a repo cruise. So this was, I guess, around 2003, 2004. We did this repo cruise, and we arrived into Honolulu, and we were going to be overnight in Honolulu and then jumping around the Hawaiian Islands on our way to Australia with some other stops along the way. And that whole experience for me was a pivotal moment in my life, because Hawaii did something to me that I can't really put my finger on it or put it into words. I've always believed with the traveling, it's how you feel when you're in certain countries. I think I may have mentioned that before, but yes, the scenery is and experiences are all part of it. But for me, ultimately, it's how a place makes me feel. For example, Venice, I'd spoken about the particular passion I have for Venice and just walking around the streets there and getting lost, and just those wonderful experiences that come with that, and how I felt, made me feel that I'd reached my goal in wanting to travel. Places like Venice especially did that. Hawaii for me my world just blew up. I just fell in love with Hawaii from the moment. Even sailing into Hawaii, there was just something particularly magical about it. And as we started to explore it, we did two cruises before we moved down to Australia. So we were there for about 10 days, 10 maybe 12 days. And I came away from Hawaii just saying that place is just magical. It just had this special something. It was, it felt so tropical, so exotic. It just made me smile every time I think of Hawaii. So came away with incredible experiences from there. Little did I know that many years after that experience that I had in 2003 was pivotal in another turning point in my life. And that feeling that I had, many years had passed, but I still remembered how that felt, and it led to another incredible part of my life that I'll be covering also. So I leave it at that for the journey now. It's even recapping it, it's just, I don't know, it's amazing all the different twists and turns that happened over that time, and I love them. It wasn't like every day was blissful, and it wasn't. The work was incredible hard. There were challenges, there were tough days, things going wrong, but you know, I look back on it all now and I just smile because the experiences, I only remember the good stuff really that happened along that time. So leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed watching. Please stay safe out there. Please be gentle on yourselves and look forward to catching up on the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.